You know, actually, I'm going to pose it in a slightly different way. Can Allah come onto this world if He wants? Can He be in this world if He wants?
I don't think so.
I wouldn't think so.
You wouldn't think so. So Allah's omnipotence is limited. He can't come onto this world.
It's like basically you.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Albert, man. I'm coming at y'all with another reaction video. And today, man, I'm reacting to Dr. Nabeel. Man, rest in peace to the brother. Apparently, he passed away some time ago with complications of cancer. But man, he got this video where he just answers a Muslim in the crowd, and he answers a question and lets everybody know who Jesus is and when Jesus claims to be God. So let's get into it. Let's learn something.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Being a Muslim, as you can already imagine, my main problem is with the Christian doctrine of Godhood of Jesus. So there's a couple of questions that are related.
It's always that.
First of all, I find this concept logically fallacious. Like there are many aspects to its logical fallacy, as in maybe one of them could be that how can God...
I love how people just think that just because they don't understand things, it can't be logical. Like, there's 3 laws of logic, and when you ask them, well, what law does it break? They can't respond. They don't know. They just want to say something because, oh man, I don't understand it, so it can't be logical. And it's just like, bro, if you don't know what the laws are, just say that. Just say that. Say that you don't understand it. It confuses you, but don't try to bring up logical inconsistency and things like that because it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. But yet still people do this to this day, which blows my mind when it's been refuted years ago. Because this video came out 5 years ago. This is stuff been refuted. But hey, people still think what they think they know what it is, and they be wrong.
God be finite and then infinite at the same time. Like this is like it's like saying that there could exist a square circle. It's a logical fallacy, right? So when we say that Jesus was God or Son of God,
that's what
we are actually saying that God existed in finitude during the life of Jesus, and He also is infinite at the same time. This is logically fallacious. Now, because you are like you're coming from a historical standpoint.
Did you want me to respond to that, or are you having
it's a relate. Like the same question continuing. So because you're coming.
That's another thing too, man. People just be question after question after question. Stay on this point. Let's address this. Then you can move on to the next one. People like to just machine gun all these questions. Like, bruh, what are you doing? We're trying to focus here. I'm trying to help you out, and I can't if you have all these other questions. And then when I answer like 2 of the 15 that you asked, then you got 16,000 more to ask. Let's just stay on one. Let's stay on one. Keep going from there.
At it from a historical standpoint, another thing that adds, like the historical evidence that adds, like that supports this argument, is that the concept of Trinity, the word Trinity itself, it doesn't appear as a theological term till near the end of the 2nd century after Jesus. So it was first used as trias by Theophilus, the bishop of Antioch, in AD 180. So we can, and like adding up to that, when you refer to Mark chapter 14, verse 62, which is what you say is the proof that Jesus claimed to be God, are you really applying the same criteria of objectivity that you were applying previously to the Quran when interpreting this as meaning that Jesus is claiming himself to be God? Because if you like look at it completely objectively, looking at the entire text, like there is nothing in the entire...
This man talk about some being objective. Ain't that something? That's crazy.
Entire text that's saying that Jesus is claiming to be God. And in fact, the verse that you yourself quote is actually saying Son of Man. So, I mean...
These are great questions. Don't go anywhere. What's your name?
Munzir.
Munzir, where are you from?
I'm from Pakistan.
Pakistan.
Shout out Munzir from Pakistan. Hopefully you heard it by now.
I had the exact same questions when I was when I practiced Islam.
Yo, I love the calm demeanor that this brother has right here, man. He's just getting into it. Like, yo, he's being cordial too. He's like, hey, what's your name? Let's talk about it. We're gonna have a conversation. This is dope right here. I like all different forms of apologetics because again, sometimes you need to stab him in the side. You know, sometimes you gotta give him body shot. But this brother's coming with a calm, cool approach so far, anyway. And man, I like it. I like this brother right here. And the fact that he's ex-Muslim, I thoroughly enjoy when ex-Muslims, my bad, y'all. When ex-Muslims talk about, you know, the differences of what they used to believe and how they were blinded to when they come into the truth. So that's a beautiful thing. I tell you what.
What I want to point out is that first and foremost, what we have to see is what Jesus claimed for himself. Excellent. Now, the secondary stuff that follows, the theological unfolding or unpacking of what he said, We can spend years and years debating what it means. But what did he say about himself? That's the first thing we want to look at. So again, that's a historical perspective. Theologians argue all day long, back and forth, back and forth. You know, theologians argue all the time, and I just sit back and watch and smile because you can't really prove it one way or another. But when it comes to historical events, we can show with relative degrees of certainty, if the evidence is good, if the records are good, what the most likely conclusion is.
Facts.
So first, and
Literally.
let me give you an answer before, if you feel like interjecting, we can talk afterwards. First, I want to point out you are absolutely right. The term Trinity is not used till the end of the 2nd century.
Fact.
What is the doctrine of God called in the Quran? In Islam, what is the doctrine of God called?
Tawheed.
Tawheed.
Yep,
Is that
we
in
knew
the Quran?
I just forgot.
No, the word
The word
Tawheed.
Tawheed is a derived word from Ahad.
Alhamdulillah,
Yes.
good. So you understand, the word Tawheed is not itself in the Quran.
Man,
In the same way, the word Trinity is not itself in the Bible.
I was just watching this debate, man, on TikTok the other day ago, and this dude, he made me so mad because he sounded so ridiculous. He just flat out sounded dumb, to be honest with you. And he was saying, "Oh man, you don't never see Trinity." That was his first thing. He's like, "Wait, find me Trinity in the Bible. Find me Trinity in the Bible." And he said, "You can't do it." And then the person that he was talking to was like, "All right, well, bet. Do you believe that Jesus Christ is the Messiah?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Show me word," because that's what they like to say, oh, verbatim, word for word. He was like, "Well, show me word for word where Jesus claims to be the Messiah." And dude was like, "Well, that's not the same thing." What? Blows my mind. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of people like to do when it comes to their arguments. They like to say, "Oh man, you can't show me this. Like you can't show me Trinity in the Bible." But yet when I point you out something, they want to say, "Oh no, we're sticking with the Trinity." Like, come on, bro. Be consistent. People are not consistent nowadays. Not consistent at all. Again, I had a brother. I was in the comments a couple months back, and he was telling me that he doesn't believe in theology and he doesn't believe anything outside of the Bible telling him what the Bible says. But in the same breath, you're gonna go ahead and look at the Strong's coordinates that was written by a dude years after to kind of just tell us what it means, translating the different definitions. He's going to try to use that and say, "Oh, but I don't use anything outside of the Bible." But got mad at me because I brought up church fathers. Like, what? You gonna bring up a brother Strong's concordance from, however was like the 1800s when he wrote that, or 1500s? I don't remember when, but come on. That's my bad for ranting, y'all, but that's people be tripping. People just want to be right but be so wrong at the same time. Sounds so dang old dumb.
This doesn't pose a problem. The Shahada is not found in the Quran. You have the components of the Shahada in the Quran, but you do not, you do not have La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah in that way found in the Quran. The components are found in the Quran. With the Trinity, the components are found in the Bible.
It's there.
So,
Start to finish.
The
OT
word
to
Tawheed
NT.
does appear in the Hadith.
oh, that's great, but it's not in the
Which is
Quran.
narrations of the Prophet.
And the Hadith is much later. So we're looking at you asked for the Bible, and we have within the early canonical tradition, people calling a God a Trinity in the early canonical tradition. In fact, much closer to Jesus' time than the Hadith were to Muhammad's time.
Ooh,
So whichever
really?
way you stack it, when you're consistent, you end up with a stronger case for the Trinity, for Jesus' deity. Now I want to continue on to your next part of your question, which is Jesus finite or infinite? The argument is that Jesus is, actually I'm going to pose it in a slightly different way. Can Allah come onto this world if He wants? Can He be in this world if He wants?
I don't think so.
I wouldn't think so.
You wouldn't think so.
Because
So Allah's omnipotence is limited. He can't come onto this world.
it's like basically Allah Ta'ala cannot do logically fallacious thing. Like He cannot create a square circle, right? Because that's something logically
But
fallacious.
how do
So
we
there
know
are
that's what
certain
this
things
is?
that Allah
But
cannot
how do we know that's what this is? Because, for example, in Surah Al-Imran, when Allah is talking to Moses, it says in Surah Al-Imran, I think it's Surah Al-Imran, it might be Surah 18,
is.
but double check, that Allah, as He spoke to Moses, Allah was in the bush. Allah was in the bush. So if you want to say that meant something else, well, you're going to have to argue with the Quran on that one. It seems to be pretty clear that Allah can emanate His voice from a physical place. He can be in a physical place in a sense. In the same way,
I tell you what, I was just watching not too long ago, which I got to get to episode 3 coming up here soon, I'm sure, with Alpha Deed and Sam Shamoon, and they're referring to, the Quran, basically saying that the Trinity is true and all this other stuff via, the Quran, but talking about how Allah is entering in creation, whether it was Himself or His breath or His attributes, excuse me, entering in creation when Jesus was created, and their belief. So there's many different times where people say, it's below His Majesty, but yet we see that, logically speaking, excuse me, Allah is there. Allah is there in some way, shape, or form. He is in creation. So, you know, tough pill to swallow.
I don't believe that God coming to this earth limits His omnipotence. It's not a limitation of His omnipotence. Jesus has taken on flesh. God the Father is still everywhere. God, Jesus, the Son, is here on this earth. It's a limitation in that sense, but it's not a limitation of His nature. He is both the divine and human nature. That's the argument. Now, I want to talk about briefly, and then we're going to have to go to the next question, but let's talk afterwards for sure. You asked about the Son of Man. You said He's not calling Himself the Son of God. He's calling Himself the Son of Man. I'm emphasizing to you, my friend, when this hit me, again, while I was practicing Islam, when this hit me, it hit me like a bolt of lightning. The claim Son of God, according to Jews at that time, was not anything divine. Adam was called the Son of God. Solomon was called the Son of God. In the Psalms it says, you are gods. It's not a divine claim to call someone a son of God. But when someone refers to that Son of
Unitarians love to bring that up too, man. They always talk about, we're called gods in the Old Testament too, so ain't nothing. People don't be putting the context with it though. They don't be putting the context. They just hear something and then they be like, "Yo, that has to be it," or they take the verse and be like, "Yep, that's it," without reading what's above it or below it. So the Unitarians be crazy for that.
Man coming on the clouds of heaven, who's going to receive glory, authority, and sovereign power, and people of every nation and language are going to worship Him with the worship due only to God, that Son of Man is more than just a human. He is divine. He's going to be worshipped by all people of all time. So when Jesus calls Himself the Son of Man, it's not the Son of God title, and lots of Christians get this wrong, so I'm not pointing the finger at you. Lots of Christians say, oh, Son of Man means He's human, and Son of God means He's God. No, it's the other way around. In the Jewish context, Son of God was a normal human title. Son of Man, from Daniel 7, that was something divine. Go back and read Daniel chapter 7. See that this man is worshipped by all people from all eternity. This man, or one who looks like a human anyway, is worshipped by all people alongside of God the Father.
Amen.
That's the one Jesus is claiming to be. Definitely understand that point that I'm trying to make. And so when you see that Jesus' claim is found there in Mark 14:62, it's found in all the Gospels, and every time Jesus uses the term Son of Man, He's alluding to that. You cannot extract that from the Gospels. So please put Mark 14:62 next to Daniel chapter 7 and see what Jesus is claiming for Himself. And we'll talk afterwards for the rest. Lord bless you, my friend.
Shout out Dr. Nabeel, boy. Yo, man, shout out to Dr. Nabeel and rest in peace to that brother. He came on humble with so much grace and just love and answering that question. He really got to the brother's name, asked him, everything was just so personable. So that was awesome. I loved how he approached that situation. And hopefully that brother who asked the question come to know Christ, man, comes to know the truth. I know that video was some time ago, and hopefully up until this point he is. Hopefully he's spreading the gospel too, because that was just a beautiful thing to witness, man. I appreciate so very much when people take time to just share the gospel, share the truth, and that's what that brother has done in his life up until his passing. So I'm so very thankful for that, and I'm hopefully going to get to more Dr. Nabeel videos on here because I just enjoyed the spirit that he had, that he just brought like that. So man, that was awesome. That was awesome, man. It's my first time seeing a video of his, and I'm hooked. Got to see more. Just like I be rocking with brother Avery God Logic, just like I be rocking with brother Shams Moon, Radar Apologetics, where I'm rocking with Dr. Nabeel. And again, rest in peace to that brother. And hopefully his family just continues to receive blessings. Man, if you made it up in this point, I appreciate you so very much. My name is Albert, the scripture plug. I'll be watching videos, reacting to them, and Lord willing, once I get to 1,000 subs, man, I'm going to start doing live streams where I bring people on to share their testimonies and also just read some scriptures and then also have a Q&A afterwards. So if you guys can, like, subscribe. If not, that's cool too. I appreciate it. But this has been your boy Albert. Catch y'all next time. I'm out.